All right, welcome to episode 98 of the Zenspath 4-Button Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me once again, our lovely other collector friend, Steven.
Yes, I do collect once in a while.
Yes, there's many things behind you if you can see him on camera. But if you're just listening, he'll just go back and rattle a bunch of stuff so you can hear it. We'll wait. Oh, we can actually hear it. Okay, he's rattling some things. That is a collection. You can audibly hear it. It's ASMR. Also joining us once again, returning, our lovely mystery-faced man of just whatever, Chris.
I collect things too, but I'm going to see a doctor about it eventually.
Yeah, they have creams for that. Oh, man. How's everybody been? We having a good week?
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Yes and no. Yes,
Yes and no.
Yes, because we have internet. No, because we didn't have internet the last 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, you had a bit of an incident at your house from what you told me, right?
Yeah, long story short, they were supposed to bury the cable for a fiber 2 feet. They did not. They basically made it like 3 inches. So, of course, trying to just pull out a root from a weed is, and I need to give a little bit of shovel in there to pull out the weed, just hits the cable.
Damn.
And when you have somebody come outside from inside and say, hey, the entire internet and all that is holy went down. What happened? I'm like, oh, that was me.
Good job. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and jump into what we've been up to. And I guess we'll start with you, Stephen, since you've already begun your lovely tale of internet woes. But what you been up to, man?
So even though it checked on the internet 3 times to let us play, Chris and I have actually been playing Double Dragon Gaiden or Gaiden, however you want to pronounce it, depending on you're from the 80s or nowadays.
Gaiden.
But we've been really enjoying it. It is a lot easier to enjoy with 2 people because it is a roguelike. It is easier to get through, but there's a lot of replayability there. We've been saving up the tokens you need to purchase the extra characters. And interestingly enough, we have found that because it's a roguelike and it changes depending on what order you attack the stages, we're getting completely different versions of bosses as you play through it. So a boss one time could be just a pharaoh with a stick saying, for Anubis. But then if you fight him last before the final level, he's a giant, like
kind of a ghost
pharaoh being of astral projection, and you have to go through an entire maze of traps through his pyramid because his pyramid had time to build. So their hideouts get bigger. It's crazy.
Yeah, essentially, you're fighting like the first guy you fight at level 1. The second guy you go through level 1 and fight him at level 2. Third one, you go through level 1 and level 2, fight him at level 3. And the last one you fight at level 4, and he's a super being.
All right. Yeah, I've seen this a few times. I'm planning on picking it up when I get paid this week. So
it's fun.
Yeah, very good.
I just don't know if I want to get the main cons like a PS4 version, or if I just want to go and pick it up on Switch.
Yeah, it does need to access the internet when you're doing leaderboards. But other than that, it doesn't really need the internet, so you can kind of play it anywhere.
Oh, okay.
It lends itself well because you can just hand one controller and just play this to 2 players, so it's really nice. Seeing that they had mock-ups for other licensed titles, I really hope this title succeeds so they can kind of branch out like that. So that was really nice. On the non-gaming side a little bit, they did push up Ahsoka to be on Tuesdays now.
Oh, okay.
So now it is actually premiering Tuesday, and instead of waiting until midnight for the episode to come out, it is not going to premiere until the evening, so around like 9 or 10 now. So they want to make it like a nightly affair. So I did find a like a graphic online that said, "Hey, if you want to get the full enjoyment, kind of like how you should pre-game for Baldur's Gate 3, this one has you pre-watch certain series so you can understand everything that's going on in Ahsoka." So the big thing they said is you need to finish or at least read through the entire synopsis of Star Wars Rebels. So wife and I are going to jump into that and finish what we started so that we're all set. We know we know when everybody, if anybody appears in the series, we'll be like, hey, they're from Rebels or something cool like that.
I'm very behind on that series. That and like the Bad Batch, and I got to finish Clone Wars and all that.
Yeah, and
I'm a bad animated Star Wars
because some
fan.
of them wanted you to watch Visions and Tales of the Jedi, so there was a lot of like homework to do. I'll probably post the graphic on the Discord so you guys can be like, oh, okay, what haven't I done yet?
Yeah, we need that.
Other than that, because it's it's in my algorithm because everybody around me is doing it right now. I'm watching everybody who decided to plunk $60 to $70 for a digital game, playing Baldur's Gate 3. I will say now and forever, I'm still in that camp where I'm like, eventually it's got to come to physical, and it sounds like it might in Japan, so I'll wait.
We'll have to see if it's actually in English in Japan, because I don't know if they're going to be able to fit all of it onto one disc. But I'm hopeful, and I'll double dip and probably pick it up because I only have it on Steam Deck. But I don't know. It just certain games are getting to the point. There's no point.
How big was the install on PC?
Like 125 gigabytes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what Modern Warfare 3 is supposed to be as well. So big games will continue.
Given the amount of dialogue and the difference in just pathways, I'm sure, it takes a lot of, not just the recording alone, the sound bites and everything. That's going to eat up a lot of room.
Yeah, because they said even Starfield is 120 to 160 as well.
Yeah, I think it was about that for what I had to install.
Yeah, now that I have my internet back, that's one thing I'll be doing tonight is letting that preload on Game Pass. So,
all right. So, Chris, what you been up to?
Well, like Steve said, I've been playing Double Dragon Gaiden. I've also been playing it in single player, trying to get all the tokens and stuff. And I really wish that there was a soundtrack, because the soundtrack is amazing. It's just so like such an homage to the original. So it's really good. The only thing I don't like about it is the story. They really just kind of bypass the story to the point where even the sound bites are followed by the character saying it in text afterward. So you have the boss guy going, "Welcome to your doom," and then it says, "Welcome to your doom." Like, we got that already. Write something a little better, please. On the other side of that, I've been trying to play Baldur's Gate 3, but I'm terrible at it because I have no idea how any of the controls work. It took a second attempt at a playthrough from the beginning to figure out the LB and RB combat wheel, and the fact that you could go to camp and rest for the day instead of having to take short rests and die from the 4 bandits that are waiting outside for you. So there's no instruction booklet. There are bandits? No real
I haven't
tutorials.
Even done a short rest yet.
Yeah. So, it's they. I miss instruction booklets, damn it. They expect you to either know how to play Baldur's Gate or Dungeons and Dragons, and if you don't know either one, you're going to die a lot.
I had this discussion with a friend of mine because the game itself has been fun to play. It's finally gotten a lot better, but it is so bad at onboarding people, just explaining the basic mechanics and expecting you to have already known how to do all this stuff. And I'm like, that's the only thing that kind of needs to be fixed, I think. Like the main part of it. Give us a little bit more. Tell us.
I think that would have been a great instruction booklet. But
that reminds me of the old days, instruction booklet or not, whenever you played games like Path of Radiance, Hills Far, Bard's Tale even, when you saw like the SSI logo on the bottom, you knew the instruction booklet was going to be like a JCPenney's catalog. You were going to have to circle things inside of, oh, I want to do that, and oh, I should remember that. So I perfectly get like that at this point. They're just like, you have the internet, just use it if you're having problems. Because yeah, I know games like Baldur's Gate and that ilk, it irks too. But that ilk where it's just there's gonna be so much that we wouldn't have any rainforest left if we made instruction booklets for that game.
That's what PDFs are for, but whatever.
Well, continue on, Chris.
Aside from that, I've just been playing Pac-Man Championship again.
Great game.
It's just something fun to do. I didn't like the sequel because the first one just felt so right. It felt like a proper sequel. The second one just felt like a weird gimmicky mission-based thinger, and it's just something I do to pass the time in between other things. When the Pokemon DLC comes out, I'm going to be doing that. But for now, Pac-Man and sucking at Baldur's Gate.
All right. Well, we will have to eventually get together and suck at Baldur's Gate together.
Whoa.
Yeah. That sounded horny. Whatever. We'll just run with it. So I've been still playing Baldur's Gate 3 on the Steam Deck, and surprisingly playable on my 1070 Ti computer. I was like, okay, I can play this. So I've been kind of going back and forth on that. I did suffer from a major issue where I ended up losing like 4.5 hours of gameplay because the game just glitched and decided it didn't want to save anymore.
Oh.
Which they said they fixed.
Yeah, they said they fixed, and then I still had the issue. But
the other people that I've been playing with have done multiple saves like crazy, so I'm guessing they've seen this happen in earlier games.
Maybe. I mean, it was supposed to have an autosave for a lot of spots as well, but it just was not saving because it was stuck trying to sync, and it would just not give me the option to like make a save or anything. Like it just completely blacked them out. I think I sent a picture on the Discord about it. But once I finally gave in, restarted, lost my couple hours of gameplay, and then built back up most of it, it's finally going along. I'm doing more things and finding more stuff. And I don't mind, it's gotten better about like if I lose a roll, it's not just stopping the story for every little thing. Because at first it would be like, okay, you missed this roll, that whole part of the story is just cut off from you. And I'm like, but I'm right here. Like, like I just passed a check to tell that there's something wrong with this cow, and the damn thing talked. But now I'm just like, oh, I passed that check on it for the Arcana check. Okay, I guess just a normal cow that can talk and just walk off. Like, no, you don't just see that and not look and wonder what the hell.
Can I ask again?
Yeah. So, I don't know. The game's running really well. I'm playing it on my Steam Deck, like I said. Steven has put the fear of all in me by saying that later in the game, apparently it's going to melt my Steam Deck. So I'm really hoping this isn't like,
Act 3.
Yeah. I'm going to play it, enjoy it, and then it's just going to burst into flames. I'll have to switch to my computer at that point. Moving on from that, we did finish Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2, which basically kicked me in the stomach like watching Best of Both Worlds as a kid again, because now I have to wait however long before they get to Season 3 to finish this cliffhanger. I was hoping I'd be done with that by this age. But with the strikes and everything going on... Say what?
That's how they get you.
Yeah, but with the strikes and everything going on, we have no idea when this is going to get resolved. So, I mean, it could be worse. It could be Netflix, who probably would have canceled it before they even finished to get to the cliffhanger. But other shows that once again left on a cliffhanger, I will not spoil, but I finally watched all of Good Omens Season 2 as well. I kind of have some issues with the way they ended it. Just seems a little weird for the characters, but I trust Neil Gaiman. He kind of knows what he's doing. So I'm sure, that story's going to get wrapped up just fine. But it was really good. It felt like they kind of kept the main characters kind of away from each other a bit much. But
he did say that if Netflix does not pick up a Season 3, he will just write the novel.
And I will read
either
the
way.
damn thing.
Either way, you will have closure.
Yeah, I don't even read that much, but I will read that. So, all right. So we'll go ahead and wrap up this and move on to the news as we attempt to use sound effects to separate out sections. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I have no idea. We're going to have to work that out. So welcome to this experiment. So starting off the news, we're going to talk first about lovely, idiotic Elon Musk making another declaration as a very rich man baby. He announced today the ability to block people on Twitter, or as he refers to it, X, will be removed as a feature, except for direct messages will be the only exception for that. Now, this is massive for a lot of people because if you are a minority, a woman, if you're in the LGBTQ, IA plus, all that stuff, you're already getting a lot of harassment as is. You're having to use the blocks to keep a lot of these people out. And if they just remove that completely and you cannot block people except for directly messaging you, that's going to be terrible for a lot of people. Musk is probably throwing a fit because he's himself one of the most blocked people on Twitter.
He should be proud of that.
Yeah, whatever. And then everybody has been just going nuts blocking ads, like left and right blocking ads, which is fantastic. So he wants to kind of reverse that and make everybody have to look at the ads, make everybody have to listen to him. Everyone else's safety or comfort be damned. So, but according to both Google and Apple's terms of services for their app stores, any social media account has to have the option for users to block people who harass them. My fear is that they will allow this to still stay on there if Musk turns around and makes this ability to block a feature you can only get with Twitter Blue or whatever it is.
I think the only way that would work is if Twitter Blue was the only option, because then I'm pretty sure Apple and Google would say you have to be able to block no matter what.
I hope so. Because me personally, I use the block because there's people I just don't want to interact with anymore, kind of separating out from a lot of stuff. People would harass me and so forth from the other people. It was a mess. So if that opens up to it, I'm just going to finally officially just fully jump ship and move on to something else because that is a true hellscape at that point. So, Steven, any thoughts on this one?
I have the same worry as you put on there that he could curtail that by just saying, hey, if you're a paid user and you have a blue check mark, that's your newest feature. You'll be able to block.
Yeah. I don't know. I know a lot of the other media sites were pretty much knocked out for part of the day, or he slowed down because they were just taking such an influx of people. I'm out of Blue Sky invites now because everyone was like, hey, you got one? I need one. I need out of here. So,
yeah, it's interesting because this comes in the same week that Xbox unveiled their enforcement strike system where you get 8 strikes and you're out.
And yes, and I forgot to add that to the notes.
Everybody will begin with 0, and you can get everything from like a slap on the wrist to a written warning, but it's 8 strikes and you're out.
They did clarify. I was listening to was IGN's Xbox podcast, and Achievement was a podcast unlocked. They did talk to the people at Xbox, and it's 8 strikes, but depending on what it's for, one issue can have multiple strikes. So people can't just game that and, use all 8 of them. They can do something that could be like you're done, like you're out for a year or, banned for wherever.
The strikes remain there for like 6 months. So it's almost like you're getting a write-up at work. It's like, that's going to be on your business record, your employment record for 6 months. Like, oh.
Yeah, they're trying to balance it. Some people are complaining they're not doing enough. Others, if you look at it, they're the only ones that are doing this publicly so people can see what this system is. So at least it's a step in the right direction for that. And I'm sure they're going to tweak it as they learn the lessons as everything goes on, because nothing's going to start off working properly,
Yeah, because I think it's nice now keeping kind of like a tally, though. They can see their history of their strikes and enforcements that they've failed against or gone against, and it's just it helps with, like Twitter and X have with repeated harassment. It's when you get repeated harassment on consoles, that's all it is. And now that they're implementing this, it can build up. So it's now like, cut it out. How many strikes are you at anyway?
Yeah, if Twitter gets to the point that it's more vile than Xbox Live or PlayStation Network, that is bad. Impressively bad. But I will say, at least in regards to Musk, I've never wished for someone to succeed at getting to Mars just to get them off the fucking planet. Just so they'd be like, oh, good for you. You made it. We'll put you in a book. Have fun on another planet. Just
Get your ass to Mars.
Yes. I'm just imagining his face expanding out and his eyes bulging out now. That's great. All right. So speaking of Microsoft, they are going to be closing the Xbox 360 marketplace after 18 years next year on July 24th, 2024. So all previously purchased games and content will be playable even after the stores close. So you're not going to lose the ability to play what you've got. Online functions will remain active for multiplayer where possible, as will cloud saves. Now they say as possible or where possible because some publishers keep up their own servers for that. So they may have already stopped online functionality, or they may stop it after that point. Games that are officially backwards compatible on Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S will remain available to purchase with all their DLC through the main store. So you won't be able to go on a 360 and buy them, but you can buy them on an Xbox One. And I'm kind of curious, if you do that, can you then go back to a 360 and download them? I'm going to find out about that later. I'm kind of curious. The Microsoft Movies and TV app on 360 is also going to stop working. So any content you purchase for it will be available, but only through PC, Xbox One, Series X and S after July 29th. I think that's shortly after that year. So anybody still have a 360 they play?
Or is it just me? Somewhere. I
used to have one for my wife to use, but then I got the Series X and she got the Xbox One.
It's a shame that there are some 360 games that are only available on that one system. One that everybody seems to talk about is Contra Hardcore.
But that has been confirmed it's backwards compatible, so it will continue to be available.
That's something, at least.
I am more interested to see if people are going to be finding out what would be lost, because I'm trying for the life of me to think of a sleeper hit, or just a title that is going to be lost to time.
Well, Marble Blast Ultra was one I loved, but that's already gone. Like, it already got delisted. I only have it because I managed to have it.
But that one has a brand new iteration coming up, which is supposed to be from the ground up, reintroducing Marble Blast Ultra to current gen.
I thought it was a different game by a different company. They just shared similar names.
I don't know if they can use the exact same name, because they are, but but for me, it's just, if anyone remembers what happened with the PlayStation 3 store, where it got such an uproar that Sony was like, "Oh, we heard you. We're going to keep it up. So we'll keep it running." And I don't think it'll be this way with Xbox, because again, there is so much more, because they had a Japanese presence on PlayStation Store that could easily be lost. But I'm still struggling to find something that could be lost on the Microsoft end. The DLC, definitely that's a big thing. But the games themselves, I was just like, well, what game can I think of? So I'm interested if people are starting to make like a comprehensive list of, hey, everybody, these are what could be lost. So you could either voice your passion to Xbox about it, or pull in Nintendo and buy everything up before it closes.
Yeah, I have I have to go back and pull up my games list on my 360 itself, because obviously Series X and Series S, you only see what's backwards compatible that shows up there, which that stuff is, as long as it's still available to be sold by the publisher, will still be available there. But I know there's a bunch of games that will be just 360, specifically like Xbox Live Arcade titles, because that was a whole kind of renaissance for the digital storefronts, along with PlayStation 3 and WiiWare. And a lot of those just never saw a release anywhere else. Those are going to be gone.
Yeah, because the biggest one I can think of, which was one of my favorite games on those systems, was WWE All-Stars, because it played like the old school Nintendo 64 games. And you could only get the extra wrestlers and all the stuff that came with them, DLC. So that game is not backwards compatible, so all those characters would then be lost.
Ugh, Yeah.
So that's where I'm on the DLC train, saying I can name a ton of DLC that I'm gonna be like, I either need to own it or I need to find out what's going on with that.
Yeah, I'm wondering if any of this is because of license deals going out, but you think they would just end that on a per game basis, but
Yeah.
don't know. Chris, you got any comment?
It's just very strange right now, and I really hope, like you guys said, there's just some way to keep the stuff that would otherwise be lost to time. This is going to happen no matter what, but it would be nice to have something to get back.
They'll get a boost to sales in July.
Probably. And once again, the biggest preservation for this stuff is going to be people emulating it, because modding the consoles themselves, like you have to go in and precisely drill the main chip in 3 spots and do all this other stuff to be able to mod it. But emulators like Xenia and some of those are getting to be a lot better for playing 360 content. And they have ones for PlayStation 3 as well.
Yeah, the best I've read though is that it's not perfect, and that's what they're worried about. It used to be you could work on it on your spare time. Now you have a deadline to make this emulator and everything work.
Yep.
In order to save some of this content, so it'll be interesting.
Well, moving on to more Microsoft news, Minecraft finally got kind of a little bit of a surprise update that we're looking forward to. They're finally seeing a ratings listing for Xbox Series X and S popping up in Germany ahead of Gamescom next week. Now, I don't know if this means we're going to finally get the Series X and Series S version of Minecraft, because they're, as we heard during the trials and things along with Activision, that they never made those versions of it because of the PlayStation. But like, are we going to finally get ray tracing? I know I keep bringing that up. That will be the hill I'm just like yelling from, but I'm wondering if this is Microsoft finally allowing the Series X and Series S versions to come out and just leaving the PlayStation 5 behind, because now instead of it looking like we're getting ahead and leaving them there and being unfair, it's kind of publicly come out to a lot of gamers and people now in the press. Hey, we're having to leave them behind because Sony kind of shot themselves in the foot and refused to give us development kits to work on it. So it's either hold everyone back or let us, continue on, and they're held back by their own choices. So any thoughts on that one? Anybody else play Minecraft? Is it just me?
Well, my friends do, but they all play on PC. But it is unfortunate that a console has to be held back that way because of unfortunate decisions and, brand loyalty. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I hope you get ray tracing.
Like, I have a feeling a lot of it'll just be like, it'll run better, you'll get better draw distance, ray tracing is a possibility, stuff like that. It'll still be playable on PlayStation 4 and then on PS5 via backwards compatibility. They may not get some of the extra features, but the worlds will still be able to interact, just like the Switch version can still play. Like, there will be a compatibility there. They're just finally able to move beyond and do more of the graphical and, all the stuff they showed off originally.
Well, we do know they have a presentation next week, and so does Capcom. So we'll see what news we get.
Can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I don't foresee getting any major crazy things from Gamescom, but this would be a nice one to get.
But it's easy enough I would think, to announce an enhancement. So there's a high chance of that.
Because that'd be one of those things that would be great. We'd be like, hey, we're having a presentation. Oh, surprise, here's this. And they can release it that day because it's just an update. And everybody could just get it. And I'll be like, oh, I feel sick. I need to leave work.
They can do your favorite thing where they're like, do the slider and they'll slide it across with ray tracing.
I'm not going to lie. I do love that. I'm okay with that.
I love that when they're saying like, we remade this game from the ground up. And then I see the line. I'm like, oh, good. What did you do?
Well, what was it? I was watching the 7-year anniversary trailer for No Man's Sky, and they were talking about, when they did the next gen update and they did the little slide across showing like the better land, all the plants. And I'm just like, yes.
And they did that Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl too. And I'm like, look how much better it looks.
This is what we should have gotten the first time.
No kidding.
Hey, you know the saying, it's first you don't succeed, you're doing it wrong.
Well, this time they gave Ludosity a budget.
No kidding. All right. So after that, we do have Starfield finally being available to preload, which I have already done. It's a little over like 102 gigabytes to download the main game, and then like another 20 gigs for the extra features and all that stuff, because I bought the $100 big one because I wanted to play it 5 days early, which I'm going to stream as well. And if I get you guys on there while I'm doing it, I was joking that I'll make all the decisions based on committee and you guys can tell me what to do.
Well, how many times do you want to restart?
I already said I'm going to veto the immediate jump off a cliff.
Death is but a hunter.
But we are also looking at a way to give away a copy of the game through the show. So listen for how we're going to be doing that. I kind of joked about like I would get the code, split it into 3 between us, and let each of us just randomly read off our part in no particular order during the stream, and then just let people try and figure it out.
He's going to get a gun and he's going to like shoot the code into the wall.
Oh, boy.
What is this, GoldenEye? I get the paintball?
I think that's a D.
So, yeah, I'm gonna try and start doing some giveaways and stuff here when I can. But Starfield kind of feels like a good return to streaming, something we can all kind of jokingly do, and a way to give away a game. Depending on how much my paycheck, well, I might be able to get away with another $100 edition so people can play early, but we'll see. It might just be a normal edition because, I'm not made of money. All right. So moving on, The Verge has reported on a travel article that Microsoft wrote about Ottawa, which recommended people visit the food bank. So this gets into everyone's favorite topic, and I know Chris loves it, AI. Yeah, turns out Microsoft had the article written by AI and posted going to food banks as the number 3 option behind the National War Memorial, but higher than going to an Ottawa Senators hockey game.
I would have put the Glorb as number 1.
The
to go.
Get Reddit on it.
Yeah, the article went so far as suggesting people should consider going into it on an empty stomach. Going to a food bank. And mind you, Microsoft laid off journalists at their Microsoft News and MSN in 2020 just to replace them with AI. So that was 3 years ago, and this is what we're getting from it.
Why did it take so long, though?
I don't want to be that guy, but who's going to Microsoft News for their news?
It pops up on my computer if I go over too far to the side, honestly.
I've been on MSN looking for like something to pass my lunch break at work, and it's usually add news that's not on Microsoft's website. News, add. So I'm just like, this cannot be where people go.
That's the whole problem with this. Like, it's trying to replace artists. It's trying to replace journalists and people that write these things just to get content out and just kind of regurgitate it out there. That these kind of mistakes are going to be happening more and more. What does a computer care about a food bank? It doesn't have to eat. It lives forever. So it's a bad look.
Well, the thing is, I mean, you've got, how to put this? You've got 2 different ways of thinking about it. One is it's a filter, so that way you can find all the AI stuff and just stop reading those. And 2, I mean, it might still be better than BuzzFeed articles. So it might actually be a metric of artificial intelligence.
You don't want to know what kind of chocolate chip cookie are you?
That's the thing. Like, if these articles are still better than BuzzFeed, who are also bringing in AI,
Top 10 celebrities wearing glasses?
Yeah, that's... Even Cracked is a shell of its former self.
Oh, I miss Cracked
that's
so
sad.
much.
Cracked
Yeah.
was so good.
Cracked is now Watch Mojo.
Yeah, pretty much. And they were wonderful. I remember going to the Cracked website the first time and going, Cracked, isn't that like third-rate Mad Magazine? And then I actually started reading through it. I'm like, wow.
I
They
used to read their
actually,
articles daily because they were very well done, and they were written by some people who actually used to work for EGM. If anybody remembers that magazine, so
oh,
I do.
it's fun to see people like move over there a little bit to write some funny articles. So it's nice.
I did not know that. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it was Sean Baby, good old Sean Baby.
Ah, yeah, good old Sean Baby. Some hilarious articles from that guy.
So yeah, we just might use this as another metric for man versus machine. That's not Team Fortress.
Yep. So one person who's probably going to be siding with the machine, sadly, artist Kazuma Kaneko, an Atlas artist, also called the Demon Artist for his work on the Megami Tensei series, along with many others, is now doing NFTs.
Based on Alice in Wonderland.
Well, he dropped off for years not doing art and then just popped up recently to do a collaboration with a group I don't want to actually mention or talk about because NFTs are ridiculous and stupid. So, yeah, it's Jeremy told me about this because he was pretty upset. And I'm like, that's because he loves this guy's art. Like just all the Megami Tensei stuff and everything. Like I see it, I recognize it. I've seen it so often, be it from the game cases, the books, the games he's playing. It's a really nice art style. Like it's really good looking.
His stuff is for me is like Akira Toriyama, where you're just like, oh, it's him.
That's the thing. Kazuma Kaneko, up until recently, since Masayuki Doi is the new artist for SMT4 and onward, he was synonymous with Shin Megami Tensei and Persona. And just knowing that he's gone here, that's like, that would be like hearing if, Disney.
For me, it'd be like hearing if Alex Ross started doing NFTs.
Well, there you go. That would suck.
I am happy to announce, though, that I did use my right mouse button and I own the complete set.
Well played, sir. We'll share them on the Discord. For a nominal fee, of course. I hate reporting on stuff like this because you're like, come on, man. Like he could do art and sell that and probably make a shit ton of money.
Maybe he just doesn't know, because there are people who they get into the zeitgeist later than everybody else. And, like a lot of the executives and pretty much all of Square, they did not know that NFTs were not the future. So they put all their chips
from selling off IDOS and everything, though, because of it.
For me, though, it's kind of like when you're watching, I don't know, an Academy Award winner like Cuba Gooding Jr. doing something like doggy daycare, and you're like, okay, he's got to pay his taxes because he hasn't gotten a good gig in a while. So for me, it's almost the same thing where he's just like, well, he's kind of being very picky, but then he's like, well, oh crap, some bills are coming due, so he's doing this, thinking, okay, that's a quick jaunt. Because I always see these as flash in the pans because I still don't see them being talked about continuously. I always see the announcement and then it drops off.
Yeah, I'm hoping he got paid ahead of time for these. I mean, honestly,
cash the check.
Right, yeah, cash the check, run away now. Go live in your seclusion as you were with money this time. All right, well, he can take all that money and buy the Lenovo's new gaming PC they've got coming out. They're putting their hat into the handheld gaming PC realm to try and compete with Valve's Steam Deck and the Asus, ASUS, whatever you want to pronounce it, ROG Ally. But they're calling it the Lenovo Legion Go. And to be generous, we'll say this has an AMD Phoenix processor. It's running Windows 11. It has an 8-inch screen, which is an inch larger than the Switch, the Deck, and the Ally. And it's basically a PC Switch. The controllers come off the side just like Joy-Cons. And it even has a kickstand that looks like the one from the OLED, which honestly, that's great. That is a good kickstand to have. That means it's going to be very stable. No word on cost, release date, or any of that stuff. But would you guys want to get a PC-based Switch? And I just knocked over a bunch of stuff. Go me.
And the problem with this is I don't know about the ROG Ally, and I don't know about the Legion Go, but I know the Steam Deck, you had to get your stand/charging stand separately.
Mm-hmm.
And my worry is if they're going to save costs by also saying you'd have to get that some other time, that we're going to get flooded with all these Me Too charging stands to the point where it's more of an inconvenience. We're just like, just put it with the system, because if you're going to put your hat into the Switch gaming market, please start out with a better bundle than the Steam Deck. I think.
Well, the nice thing with the Steam Deck is you can choose which ones. You don't have to just have the one individual one, which I have the official one. I did buy one when I got mine, and it's in my bedroom. So I can set it there and plug it on the top. But I have a small, very portable one that I travel with that I can plug into the same port, HDMI out, and I'm good. And it even does power distribution, so I can plug the plug into it and it'll charge it while it's running. So I like having the options. Like I said, this one's going to have the dock, or not the dock, but the stand already built into it, which the other two don't have, which makes more sense for this because for the Steam Deck, you're holding it like a Switch, but nothing comes apart. There's not a reason to put it down unless you're connecting it to other stuff. And by that point, you're probably connecting it to a TV. But with this one, you can actually remove the controllers and play it. It's going to be great for Switch emulation, I guess.
I think it's a little
that's exactly what
early.
Nintendo wants to hear.
I think it's a little too early, though, because it's still only in concept mode, right? We don't have anything really concrete.
Yeah, some of it leaked out a little bit early. Like we know the processor and some of the stuff, but yeah, they're really early about what information they're giving on it.
Because when I walk into a Best Buy, there is no Steam Deck stuff whatsoever, but there's an entire end cap with the brightest lights I've ever seen shooting lasers into my eyes about the ROG Ally, because they carry Asus there. So,
right.
Of course.
But I say Best Buy is going to be carrying those. GameStop is now selling Steam Decks.
So is Valve themselves, which is nice too.
Right. Yeah. Or they can mess up like they did on my order and give me 2 of them. So that is how Jeremy got his, and he is happy and did not have to pay for it.
But my question to them is, I believe Valve, like they usually have, will continue to support and update these through thick and thin, because that's what Valve's known for, is endlessly updating without making a new model. So it's like, okay, sweet.
Well, that's part of why I trusted about them, because Valve is a very good company to have behind it, which is what gave me the faith to go ahead and order it, get it, and it's worked out great. Like you said, they support it. It's gotten really good updates. But they also made it where it can be worked on. I can fix it myself. And, Jeremy had a problem where he had dropped it and the trigger had kind of broken in, and I could open it, get into it, fix the trigger, put it back together, and it was fine. I don't know if I would be able to do that on the other 2 yet. Because they're more kind of sealed cases.
Yeah, I'm worried this will become more where Valve is the did you know option that's not seen, it's just heard about, while Lenovo and Asus both have their displays in Best Buys and Furniture Marts, electronic stores, Mayors, if they still exist, stuff like that, where Myers, where they're basically looking through the electronic section and they see end caps for both of those, so people think that and the Switch are the only options. But my fear is a lot of these laptop companies, for better or for worse, don't have the best support.
They don't.
So I feel that they are, we just talked about it, they are pushing the NFT button by saying, let me get in on this craze while it's hot, and then just stop supporting it when it starts to cool down.
Speaking of hot, that's part of why I haven't got a ROG Ally yet, because I want to get one to try it out because it is the Windows side of it, which the Steam Deck is limited to Linux and stuff. But the ROG Ally has also had an overheating issue to the point it's melted SD cards in it. Yeah. Or the USB port will just come out. Like it's
What?
Yeah. They need to work on the thermals for that. And like, yeah, my Steam Deck does get warm and you can hear the fan working, but it's never had any issue beyond that. Like, and I put it docked playing on my TV in my room, which was just 1080p, playing, Baldur's Gate 3 on it for hours, and it was chugging away. It looked like I was playing a 360 game, but it was doing it. So I'm kind of worried what the other ones would do. Like, would it just catch on fire? So I need to see them kind of fix that stuff and kind of build better faith with people or trust with people before I will take that step to buy it. Because they're like $50 more expensive than a 512 gig Steam Deck for that ROG Ally.
Yeah, like what is your quality assurance that it went through? Was this tested only in the handheld sphere out there, or are you expecting people to eventually dock it and play it at home for hours as
Right.
as their take anywhere PC?
It needs the digital foundry treatment.
And they did go through it, and like a few of the reviews I've seen were like, hey, I really liked using it, but I also got really good at the Best Buy return policy because I had to replace it like once or twice.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not like good for you. You could just go replace it, but you shouldn't have to. Like, that should not be a thing.
Yeah, I'm not one to spill tea, but yeah, definitely send it to Digital Foundry. Do not send it to Linus Tech Tips.
Yeah, I debated if we were going to cover that or not, but they have definitely gotten to some crap.
Don't test something the wrong way and then say it's garbage. That's all.
Yeah, that's what they did. I was
Maybe
like,
next time.
Yeah, we'll see how that all shakes out. Because now he's got sexual harassment charges as well. Oof. All right, so going on to a happier bit for an older memory. Who's familiar with Guillermo del Toro? Because great director.
That guy in Death Stranding?
Yes, actually. I can say that about almost everybody, apparently.
Like Conan O'Brien. Okay.
Yeah, that threw me for a loop that Conan O'Brien is in that freaking game. I haven't even played it yet. I have it, and I'm just like, I saw a picture of that. It's like, I don't know if I need to play this. So Guillermo del Toro has messaged Konami on the 9th anniversary of PT, which released back on the PlayStation 4, with a message to maybe bring it back. So he tweeted to Konami, quote, Konami, what sayest thou, Irumbao Konamitas, which is Latin to English of I will visit Konami. PT was released and later found to be a teaser for a Norman Reedus-led Silent Hill game that with a collaboration with Guillermo del Toro as well as Hideo Kojima, which of course Kojima and Konami had a horrible falling apart to the point they got called out during a Game Awards, which was funny. But I still have a PlayStation 4 that has PT on it. And it's one of the first games I ever streamed. I actually streamed it while playing with a friend of mine, and the videos are still up there, which I thought was pretty funny. If you ever want to dig back and see that low resolution stream off of PlayStation 4.
The PS4 is probably still valuable then.
Yeah, I joked about streaming it again because now I could actually record it and play the whole thing at full resolution, but it was more fun having a friend with me who was legit scared of this stuff. Like, it freaked him out. And I was just laughing and making stupid jokes the entire time about dead babies in refrigerators.
Classy.
Yeah.
For me, instead of bringing it back, I brought it out back. And I finally put it out of its misery. I deleted it off my PS5 when it kept saying playable on PS4. I was like, you know what? You're wasting my space.
I never transferred it. I left it on there because I knew it would not work on PS5. So
you're saying it was dead space?
You're lucky you're not on camera. Because then I would come up there and choke you. Okay. I don't think anything will come to this. I think Guillermo del Toro is just like, you're not answering my calls, so I'm going to just appear at your house.
He'll just show up with some of the puppets and stuff he's worked with. You just see some dude just with the
Wasn't
eyes.
he making a game? Wasn't he making a game called like Evil 8 or something weird? I remember that they announced one year.
He does a lot of stuff. I have no idea what he's up to half the time, but whatever actually comes out, I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. I will interact with that because I do love his work.
Wasn't
But
he making a
I've quit trying to keep
continuation of
up with it.
Pan's Labyrinth? Like thought he's busy.
I have no idea. That guy, he just does. I mean, there's a reason him and Hideo Kojima were hitting it off. They're both just like, we're just weird and can do stuff. Let's do it.
We're just two wild and crazy guys.
Now I'm just seeing those two dressed in those 70s suits with the hats. Yeah, just, hey. God, that would be hilarious to see those two do that.
We're dated. Okay.
We need to be friends with people that are really good with Photoshop to make that now. Just like an animated GIF with their faces on it, just dancing. All right, so our last bit of news. Splatoon Deep Cut Trio of Fry, Shiver, and Big Man will be releasing their own amiibos on November 17th. Somehow this announcement just slipped out quietly. I completely missed it, and I don't even know if I can pre-order these because I'm trying to get a hold of them. In the game, they'll unlock special costumes like previous editions did, but they will also let you take photos with them in-game. So I guess that's an add-on. Kind of a weird choice.
Yeah, Japan gets both a 3-pack and singles packs, but it sounds like, according to the announcement, the official accounts for Nintendo of America said, it's just going to be single packs for us. So each one will have to be done separately.
That sucks. I'd rather get a 3-pack because that's how a lot of the Splatoon sets here.
Especially when you have stuff called the Deep Cut Trio, it would look nicer as a 3-pack. But
yeah, and you would just expect it to be one thing.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a little better than what they used to do because if you look at it, they would release a 3-pack, but then like the Octoling or the Squid, whatever that were in there, could only be gotten in the 3-pack, but you could buy the other two by themselves. So they, you can either get those two and then buy them again to get the third one or whatever. It was always a weird choice. So if they're going to release them separately, maybe I have more of a chance. So you guys going to be getting these? I know I collect pretty much all the amiibos, but that's just me.
Same.
Okay, cool.
Chris will just come downstairs and be like, "Can I borrow it?" I'm like,
I'll get the code from Amazon or something.
Fair enough.
I only have 1 or 2 amiibos for the characters I really like. Aside from that, I'm not what you'd call a collector.
Yeah, I don't use them in game as much anymore, but they are really good detail for a lot of stuff. So I'll just go pick them up and look at them. Like I just really enjoy doing that and getting good photographs of them.
Yeah, he was pleasantly surprised and elated when I told Chris that if you scan Wolf Link into Tears of the Kingdom, it just drops hunks of meat.
That's all it gives you, which is perfect.
Thank you for your service, Wolf Link. You won't go to waste.
We're eating good tonight, boys. All right, so let's go ahead and move on over then to the big question for this week.
Whoa!
Yeah, once again, messing with sound effects. We're using the GameCube sound effects, or I can do the Dreamcast a little bit. So the big question for this week, I thought about this one while I was busy kind of traveling around last week to pick up my son. The Switch 2 rumors abound, or with the Switch 2 rumors abound, the subject of power comes up all the time. Do you think the Super Switch, which is what I want to be called, will be as powerful as the modern Steam Deck, less powerful, or somehow more powerful than it? We'll talk about it with the three of us of what we think on this one. And then I did a Twitter poll, which people responded on. 6 people voted on, but whatever, it's still numbers. You were one of them. I didn't vote because it's my poll, so I don't get to do it. So Steven, you want to start us off on that of what you think power-wise the Switch will be, or the Switch 2 will be compared to the modern Steam Deck?
So I want to preface it first with a question to you. what do you feel is more powerful, your Xbox Series S or your Steam Deck?
My S by far.
Okay. So by that, I think it will be both less powerful than a Steam Deck and a Series S.
Mm-hmm.
Only because Nintendo loves sales numbers. So when it does this well, still in Japan, as we mentioned in a previous episode, where how their sales were in Japan, they will probably take, I feel, what the shareholders will say into account.
Mm-hmm.
But the shareholders are never like, you really need to make this more powerful if you're going to sell more units. I think they occasionally might mention it, but it's never a big thing. They're more about fixing their infrastructure. So,
Oh God, please let them.
I don't. I feel they have bigger problems they need to address. Of course, with um, newer collaborations with any of the chip manufacturers, screen manufacturers, and stuff like that, is where we'll see what they're offering in a mass amount to what kind of power we'd get. Because everybody keeps calling a Switch a glorified mobile phone, and I'm like, okay, it's over 100 million sold, though.
It's a hell of a
So
glorified phone.
So I feel that it's gonna be an incremental upgrade because that's the Nintendo way, unless this president shocks me for some reason. But I still feel that there's bigger issues that I think they should get out of the past from everything from I don't want any more codes in a box. So do what you need to do to make those cartridges bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And especially their online infrastructure where their system does not support rollback netcode but gets all these fighting games anyway, and its online system is so old that companies like EA and such are just like, we can't release our sports games for the most part, like our Maddens and such, on you because we need you to be able to chat with your friends live, not on your phone. And I remember in the past there was an article where EA had a meeting with Nintendo, and Reggie was there, and both sides had their big wigs there, and EA was trying their best to show them Xbox Live. This is during 360 era, and like how things worked, and Nintendo basically responded like my dad, like they can do that now. That's crazy. Like they saw it as like the distant future when it's like, no, this has been going on for the last 3 to 5 years, Nintendo. So part of me hopes that they at least catch up to other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel if they can lock in 30 frames on most of their games, except for a select few, I see just an incremental upgrade.
Okay. Chris, what about you? What do you think power-wise this will compare to a Steam Deck?
That's not an easy question to answer because
I know.
usually, yes, thank you. Usually it's not one thing that a follow-up console is meant to do when it comes to Nintendo. It's never that simple. We have the Game Boy Micro, we have the DSi with its little DIY trick. So I don't know if power is going to be the focus. There's always going to be some little tweak, some little extra, whether it's used or not. And whatever the Super Nintendo Switch gets, and that's what I want it to be called, it's probably going to focus around the gimmick and the power making that gimmick work. What we had with the Switch was the Joy-Cons and the ability to dock to a TV and have the same kind of power as a normal, a dockable home console. So it was a portable console and a home console at the same time, and that's the power that it needed to have. So whatever weird gimmick the next one has, the power is going to be centered around that, for better or for worse.
Okay. So for me, obviously, I don't think it's going to be as powerful as a Steam Deck because they're going to try and maintain that slim, smaller design. They want this to be comfortable for someone to hold or a child to hold. Steam Decks are nice, but they are big. It's like the Duke controller for the original Xbox big. And for me, because I've got giant hands, It's fine. I'm also the guy that liked the Duke controller when it came out. But I still preferred the Model S one when that came out later on. And I can play a Switch just fine. I have no discomfort. Joy-Cons are not too small for me. And I think that's going to determine what power they have. Now, it may not be as powerful, but I think they're going to be working with the chip makers to kind of implement more of their like DLSS, frame generation, stuff like that, or their upscaling setups to make them look better, for sure, because then they can get away with doing more stuff without having as much power. So the increments of systems, if you look at it, like GameCube to Wii, people joked it was two GameCubes taped together, but it really was about double the it was a nice little step up from it, but it was not as big as some of the other systems. I think the smallest increment we've seen in a while is Wii U to Switch, because graphically it was a little bit of a step up for the new architecture, but its biggest draw was that new feature. Now, if they're going to stick to that same feature and do an increment on it, we might see a little bit more power, but I don't think we're going to get to Steam Deck level simply because of the heat issues, what all that would require. The battery life would be, unacceptable depending on the games. Like Baldur's Gate 3, I love playing it on my Steam Deck. I get an hour, maybe an hour and a half. That's it. After that, my battery is completely drained from 100% down to like 10 or less, and I have to stop or plug it in and run it. And they're not going to want it where people can't go and do a flight and play a reasonable game for most of not all that flight,
Makes sense.
So I don't think it's going to be, the same. I think they'll try and get as close as they can. I don't think they're going to unreasonably just undersell it, but it's not going to be like the giant massive leap. Like, I love seeing people that are like, oh, it's going to have ray tracing, or it'll be as powerful as a PS5. And I'm like, have you picked up a PS5 in a while? Because pick that up, hold it, and imagine holding that for hours. That's what you would have to have. So it's not happening.
I feel more it's going to be like an Xbox One and a PS4, not the Pros,
agreed.
Not the Xbox One X. So it's still going to be the first power versions of them. And for me, they have to learn from past mistakes is my biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
More powerful, less powerful, as powerful. They have to learn from past mistakes, and do not call it a Switch at all unless it's backwards compatible. Do not confuse consumers again.
Yes, they need to come up. I mean, Super Switch, I think, would be a good name just because it's kind of like they did Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, but I don't know.
Do you
Even
think
Switch 2 would be something?
Do you think, and here's a follow-up question for both of you guys,
yes.
Do you think Nintendo might buck their own trend and make their next system a second pillar?
I don't think so. I think because even they're looking at the sales numbers for Switch, for what they have, they may try and continue that as best they can. If they turn around and try and second pillar this thing, like, and by that I mean like they'll make a new system, but I could see them still making games compatible between the two. Like
what if they just continued with only the Switch Lights, but then made their new system still like dockable?
I mean, that would just be kind of whittling as they wore down the old ones. That'd be like releasing that stupid little red Wii. Like it couldn't do half the stuff the old ones could do because it was an end of life, just whatever. I don't think that would be a second pillar. I can see them doing very much like what PlayStation and Microsoft have done the last 2 years with their new consoles, where a lot of games were developed for both. Like they're going to, the next Zelda will come out on this new system, or Metroid Prime 4 will probably be a launch game for this system, but I also see that they're probably going to have a version of it available for Switch. It may run at a lower resolution, different frame rate or textures or whatever, but it'll be on both because that's too big of a market to just let die.
I think the second pillar already happened. That was what the OLED was.
Yeah, but there wasn't anything exclusive to it because
There was
looking
technically
back
no
at their,
difference other than a screen.
looking back at their timeline when they released the DS or even announced it, Game Boy Advance was still going super strong. So they kept Game Boy Advance going for at least a couple more years while the DS was alongside them, even though at that point the DS could still play Game Boy Advance games.
Yeah, but this is a new kind of thing. Nintendo's never dealt with this kind of success before. You
Right.
know, it feels like they're just trying to keep the Switch going, and they're just watching the numbers and going, "All right, as soon as it goes down, we'll bring out something new. As soon as it goes down, anytime now.
I
As
think
soon as
as
it goes
the
down."
DS showed them though, and the Switch has showed them though, if they want to break 100 million units, they have to stay portable.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
yeah,
the OLED to me, the closest thing I'd compare it to is the Game Boy Advance SP Model 101. Technically, on the inside, they play everything exactly the same. They function no differently, but the screen's nicer. You know, that's basically what it had. Um, yeah, they switched up the dock and the case a little bit, stuff like that, but still the same Joy Cons. You know, the DSi or the new 3DSs and stuff like that at least had an incremental power upping so they could do a little bit more other functions. So I
I'm sure
could
it'll be interesting.
I could see them eventually discontinuing all switches except for OLEDs, but now you kind of also put that idea in my head about just finishing off the switch with
See,
the light,
you
and I hate that idea.
so you do, yeah, but you do have a point though because the last I read though with the rumors is
Mm-hmm.
that the next system would not be using OLEDs.
Yeah, I've heard back and forth on that where some people think it'll just be LCD, which I would understand. Steam Deck uses LCD, and both of these new systems we talked about today, like the ROG Ally and the Lenovo one, are also apparently using LCDs. Not everyone's going to OLED immediately because they do cost more. I only got an OLED because, well, I'm a sucker for Zelda stuff. Like they got me. Damn it. Um, so I'm okay if they did that. It'd be great if they had an option, but I think they need to simplify it and not confuse people. Make it
Yeah,
an LCD if you need to, but just make one. The less options, the better in this case. Let the old Switch be its own option. Limit it down. If you want to play the old ones on this with what's already out there with a great big library, you can do that. If it's, it better be backwards compatible, but then this new hardware can play all the new games and all the old ones. You'll get people gradually moving over as they want to upgrade or do stuff, but you won't lose them immediately. I think that's probably the smartest thing they could do. So, all right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up this episode. We've kept it right around an hour, actually. We're getting better at this. I've tried to bring it within reason. No more 3 or 4 hour episodes like I used to do.
no more court cases.
Right. Well, okay. That's a whole other subject. Court cases, Nintendo Directs, and E3 get long shows. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this up by telling everybody where we can find you on the internet. And Steven, we'll go ahead and start with you. Where can we find you online?
Okay, well I've expanded from X because I'm worried about the block feature as well as rumors of requiring ID, like
Oh,
I'm going
wait,
to a
hold
club.
on. I forgot to mention the poll stuff.
Oh,
Apologies. Because people will probably be like messaging me going, where's the poll? Why didn't you
where
mention
can
it?
we find the poll?
Yeah, it was on Twitter. So the Twitter results, I had put about the same was 33.3%. Less power for sure got 66.7%. I'm guessing you were in that party. And then at a whopping score here for somehow more power, 0%. Nobody even considered it. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
So, okay. Sorry about that. Now we'll go ahead. Now, where can we find you on the internet now that I've interrupted you?
Yeah, with the new X rumors, including the rumor about requiring ID, like I'm walking into a club. I've expanded my efforts, so you can find all of us on Discord, but you can find me under Nintendo That's just the word Nintendo with a 1 instead of the I. You can carry that over into Blue Sky, where it's N1 Nintendo.bsky. The rest of it, I think it's social. So you get the gist if you go over to Blue Sky. There's always invites floating around. Just look around. You can also find me on Hive at Swantendo as well. I am over there still trying to figure out why it's so barren in terms of people following there. But otherwise, I am still in the burning building known as X at loading_time.
All right. Chris, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me in the wind, in the sky, in the stars, but not on the internet.
Okay. He does not exist. He is better than us. All right. And since this whole thing has become so convoluted, I ended up making a Linktree account. So you can go to linktr.ee/Zenspath to find all of my assorted names. But to clarify quickly, Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads are at zenspath.com. Twitter, Hive, and Discord are at Zenspath. Then you can also locate my Twitch streams at twitch.tv/Zenspath, which hopefully here soon I will be playing Starfield, which we'll talk about how we're going to be giving away a copy of the game.
With a safety committee.
Yes, they're going to tell me what to do, and we'll figure out how it goes. That's going to not... it's going to be so bad. I'm just going to be sitting there talking to somebody, and Chris can be like, shoot them. Just shoot them now.
Tell you what, like, we're going to be your good and bad conscience on your shoulder.
Oh my God, that's great.
I'm going to be like, he might help you get some materials for your ship. And Chris will be like, kill them and loot and plunder. Everyone must die. No one must know.
Take all their stuff. Leave their bodies on the ship. I'm going to have a shoe collection of just trophies.
Shoot everybody out into
whatever.
the ship and watch
Think whatever. I will. Well, you'll see. You'll see. You'll find out.
Oh, this is going to be great. If you're listening to the audio version of this, you can find the video version at youtube.com/ZenspathCom. And if you're watching this over on YouTube, you can find the audio versions on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Zenspath.libsyn, libsyn.com, or anywhere you get your podcasts at. All right. Well, this has been episode 98 of the Zenspath 4-Button Podcast, and we're out. Peace.
Don't block us.